Welcome back. Now, the rand may have softened in early morning trade ahead of the fourth quarter current account data, but it's worth noting that of late, the local unit has been unusually stable. Its trading range against the greenback has shrunk to levels not seen in over 20 years. Andre Cilliers, director and currency strategist at TreasuryONE, joins us with his analysis on the drivers behind the perceived change in the rand's risk profile. Andre, thanks so much for your time today. And the rand really surprisingly holding up while so much has happened over the past few weeks. Events that you'd think would trigger volatility, like that budget delay we saw, some of Trump's trade policies haven't really moved the needle as much. Are you surprised at how the rand has been faring?
Good afternoon to all the viewers. No, I'm not really surprised, but I need to correct something here. Everybody simply looks at the rand's value against the dollar. And that's the interesting one, that against the dollar, it looks good. Because, you know, if you look at since inflation figures were not released and it was postponed by a week, and the budget was not read and that was postponed till the 12th of March.
Yeah.
One would have thought that the rand's actually going to battle a little bit. The truth of the matter is that the rand has battled a little bit. Because when you look at the rand against the euro, for instance, and you go back to where the budget was read, should have been read, then we see that the euro was trading around the low 19s, 1910, 1915. It's currently trading at 1980. The pound was at the low 23s, 2310, 2312. It's trading at 2362 against the pound. So against all the other currencies, the rand is actually weakened quite a bit. So on a basket, if you look at a basket of currencies, of the rand's value against that basket, then we see that the rand has not done that well. And the only reason why we see this move against the rand versus the dollar is purely because the dollar against all other currencies had lost quite a considerable amount of value. There, the value of the dollar against the euro, or the euro against the dollar, whichever way you want it, was below 104 at one stage.
Yes.
And now that's trading at around the 108 level. So a substantial weakening of the dollar. So yes, the rand improved in value against the dollar, not because of the rand strength. The rand is actually weaker than what it was.
So should we be looking at, those other currency pairs as well when we are reflecting on the rand's performance, considering that we usually look at it against the dollar to determine how well it's currently performing?
Absolutely, we should look at the basket, because when we look at a lot of your imports out of China, a lot of your exports to China, that's dollar-based. Your exports and imports to America is dollar-based. But what goes to Europe, and Europe is one of our biggest trading counterparts, is done in euros. What goes to the UK is done in pounds. So indeed, just those two currencies makes up a big portion of our trade that actually takes place. And so a lot of companies in this country sits with massively big exposures in terms of euros and pounds, also Australian dollars and other currencies. But if I single out those two, pounds and euros, makes up a big portion of our trade that annually gets done with international countries.
And Andre, how
we should look at so we should look at those, because they form a very big part of the basket of currencies.
Andre, how are you then viewing emerging market currencies as a whole within this softer dollar environment?
Well, if we look at the emerging markets, then all the emerging markets over the last 2 weeks, because of the decline of the dollar value, had done better. So sometimes it's worthwhile looking at within the emerging market basket currencies, did the rand do relatively well within that basket? And did it appreciate or depreciate depending on the side of the move in line with those? Now, at this point in time, we're sort of middle of the road. We have not gone far to the left or far to the right. We just sort of trotting along with the emerging market space, but I'd say slightly on the weaker end, and I think that's because of domestic factors and also our relationship, this current debacle around what happens between us and America, I think carries some weight in our a little bit of weakness, especially in the basket of currencies.
Andre, thanks so much for your time and just sharing insights on what's been playing out in the local currency. That was Andre Cilliers, Director and Currency Strategist at TreasuryONE.